Aloha, my name is Matt DiGeronimo. I'm the Senior Managing Director at Floyd Mergers and Acquisitions here in Honolulu, Hawaii. Our clientele is often people who are looking to sell their business. However, this message is directed to people who are either thinking about running their own business or in the early to mid-life cycle of your business. The benefit that we have in terms of working with people who are looking to sell their business is that we get a really good look underneath the hood, and when we take that look, what we find is that the sustainability and the value of that business has been built up over time, and often there are business decisions that were made that, had they been different, would have created a business that was more well positioned for growth and sale. So every once in a while, we like to take an opportunity and pass some of those lessons learned along to current business owners. This applies whether you think you're ever going to sell your business or not. Fortunately, these tips work to both create a more sustainable and scalable business as well as a more valuable business if the day should ever come when you want to sell your business. Most people assume that financial performance is the number one factor in a business's strength. That's not true, because oftentimes a small business's financial strength can actually hide some significant weaknesses that won't be revealed until the business grows to a certain point and then can't break through that barrier, or potentially gets too top-heavy and actually implodes on itself. So if it's not financial performance, what is it? And I would say that in my opinion, it's an assessment of how well the business runs without the owner. So the litmus test would be the owner takes a vacation to a remote island with no access to his cell phone or the internet or any other forms of communication, and completely goes hands off on the business for, let's say, 2 weeks. When he comes back, what does he find? Is the business operating as it should be? Are clients happy? And if so, good job. You're well on your way to growing a successful, scalable, and valuable business. If you come back and what was a relatively successful, organized business has turned into a clown show with monkeys juggling chainsaws, clients upset, emails that have gone unanswered to, the coffee pot overflowing, and your office manager sitting in the corner of the room crying, rubbing whipped cream on his head, you got issues. Okay, so let's talk about where those issues stem from and what we can do on a daily basis to tackle them. There's a lot of things, and I'm going to try to keep this video short, so we'll talk about two today. The first one is an organizational chart. Most people, when they start off, it's just about generating revenue, and there is no real organizational chart to the business because it's just a business owner with a handful of people helping him or her out. A trick that I learned from Michael Gerber's book, The E-Myth, which I highly recommend, by the way, is that every business should have an organizational chart that describes the business as you would like it to be, not as it is now. And this applies even if you're the only person in your business right now. So imagine your business how you would like it to be 5 or so years from now, and then create an organizational chart that describes it. And for the perfectionists out there, it doesn't have to be perfect, okay? The veterans of small business will tell you perfection is unattainable, so get used to it. Just put together an organizational chart that you think would describe your business in 5 or 10 years from now. Do you have an IT department? Do you have a sales department? Do you have an HR department? Who handles your marketing? And what does your executive team look like? Once you've created that, now identify which jobs you are doing. And if they're all of them, then write your name in every single block. Okay? And I know that seems a little bit silly. I agree. But what this will help you do, if you place it in a position that's visible to you throughout your day, it will help you determine what roles you're performing when, and then how to position the duties and responsibilities associated with those roles, so that they're exportable, so to speak. So when you're ready to bring on somebody to handle your IT, or you're ready to bring on someone to handle your books or your janitorial services, you have compartmentalized the duties and responsibilities associated with those, so you can turn them over. And additionally, it'll give you a nice visual representation of how your business is growing in terms of the structure of it compared to how you thought it would, and kind of force you to take some time to think about why there's a difference. Because there will be a difference. As I said, perfection's not attainable in this business, but we do want to ensure that our actions and the way our business grows is always intentional. That segues very nicely into the second part, which is policies and procedures. And you could call them protocols, you could call them recipes, you can call them whatever you want, but you got to write them down. And everyone, so some of you aren't even listening anymore. You've already either pressed pause, shut the window, or stopped listening to me, because everybody, myself included, will think of reasons why we don't really need a policy or procedure for that, or we don't really need policies and procedures. I've heard, Matt, your military background is disturbing your sense of the world. Not everything is written down step by step. I've heard, I don't want my employees to be robots. I've heard I want the decisions to be made at a lower level, and I don't want people feeling like they're tied to a written procedure. I mean, you name it, I've heard it. But the reality is, it's the most important thing that you can do to ensure the survivability of your business. Think of all the things that could happen in your business that would be detrimental. The loss of a key employee, the destruction of your assets. It could be a natural disaster that sets all your computers out to sea. A changing in the business model, a bringing on of a business partner, adding additional products or services. Sometimes a good event can cause a company to implode. You get a great amount of PR from some event and your phone's ringing off the hook and you can't handle it. All of those things can be handled, or at least handled better, if there are policies and procedures in place. It is the one and only way to not ensure, but to maximize the chances that the product or service that you're providing to your client will always meet your standards without requiring you to be directly involved. Of course, what goes hand in hand with the creation of the policies and procedures is the establishing of a culture that respects and uses those policies and procedures. That second part is not easy. And in fact, in the 1% or so of small businesses that I've seen who do write down policies and procedures, who do put an operations manual, that capture the company's events in written procedures, unfortunately, some of them fail to cross the finish line because they put some emphasis on in the beginning, but they never really developed a culture in the business of, okay, you're doing that, where's the procedure for it? And it takes a lot of effort because people do not naturally respond well to that. And oftentimes people are offended by it, or they think that it's distracting them from doing the thing that you're asking them to do. But for reasons that I've touched on, and for reasons that could fill up several more books, it is absolutely imperative. So I'm leaving you today with 2 tips to create your business with a strong foundation for survivability, scalability, and then sellability. And that's create an org chart, use it, adjust it, and keep the titles of the positions in that org chart up to date with the people in your organization that are currently fulfilling those roles, even if that means you or all of them, or that between the 3 people in your business, each person is wearing 8 different hats. use it, modify it, adjust it as necessary, and create policies and procedures for everything that you do. And it has to be a daily effort to not only create them, but to, more importantly, create a culture in your business that buys in and respects and implements those policies and procedures. My name is Matt DiGeronimo. Thanks for listening.